Hey everyone, glad to see you again on the show. BlackRock XRP ETF, take a look. I have the answers for you. In this lesson, we'll go over how to figure out where the price of XRP is going once this ETF goes live. Also, let's be clear, BlackRock will definitely release an XRP ETF after this one. What I'm about to show you will make you want to stay with me. That's what I promise. First, let's talk about ETF flows, which will shape the whole conversation. XRP is seeing about $56 million in ETF-related flows, while Bitcoin just set a huge record with $1.42 billion in flows. What made Bitcoin do that? Easy. BlackRock and Fidelity are two big names. They're making almost all of the noise. Now we come to the real question. Where will the price of XRP go when BlackRock does finally release an XRP ETF? Because look, I already did the work. I've been here for a long time, almost 10 years. There is no way that BlackRock will not set up an XRP ETF. I'm not saying it will happen today. I am not sure of the exact time. To be honest, it might be this year. They could wait until 2027. BlackRock moves when money comes more slowly, and that's what will happen with Bitcoin ETFs. When Bitcoin really goes into a bear market, which is now, the motivation changes. BlackRock doesn't have an ideology. They're not feeling anything. They are machines that are made to charge fees and make money. Bitcoin's value will spin when new coins come in slowly. They always do. And when they switch, their customers switch too. What makes sense is the next ETF. It's not a joke coin. I just heard Brad Garlinghouse on a big show at USA House during Davos 2026. It is now very easy to tell which cryptocurrencies are the best when you are reviewing them in 2026. There are big events that you look at. You ask yourself some easy things. Can you see the leadership? Is the boss there? Are they in Davos? Are they talking with people who make policy? Do they talk to world leaders in finance, in interviews, podcasts, and official settings? Brad is. Will someone from your group be at these events? Do they have their own screens, their very own segments? Are they just yelling on Twitter? It's important. For each cryptocurrency you own, you should make a list. You don't own it if it doesn't meet the requirements. One more important box to mark. Is there an ETF behind the item? One of the strongest signs you can get is an ETF. Why? Because they decide what can be bought with big money. And this is the part that most small buyers still don't get. What do you think U.S. retirement accounts will buy when they can invest in crypto? They're not buying tokens one at a time. 401ks, pensions, and IRAs are being used to buy ETFs. It is not possible for these cars to store specific cryptocurrencies. They buy goods that are regulated, use index funds, ETFs. That's how the cash moves. So as soon as there is an XRP ETF, it becomes the usual way to invest retirement funds. And that's when finding prices changes in a big way. In what direction is all that money going to go? It will begin to flow into ETFs. Always. It's pretty clear when you look at the list of things that do that right now. And then there's Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Chainlink, HBR, Dogecoin, which I wouldn't touch, and so on. There are now 9 of us. That list has XRP on it. Allow us to now go straight to the XRP ETFs and see what the numbers really mean. You can see that the daily volume is around $13.8 million on your computer. You have locked up about 807 million XRP, which is equal to about 0.80 and is about 80% of the reported total. Furthermore, this should be estimated more closely to 60 billion instead of the full 100 billion, which means that percentage is a bit higher in real life. Over 26 million XRP come in every week. Now let's take a moment to think about this. That day with $13 million is a low day. Every day, about $30 million is probably spent on XRP ETF-related things. That looks great for retail, and it is for retail. Now let's look at BlackRock and see how it compares. BlackRock does between $2 and $5 billion worth of business every day on Bitcoin. I'll show you the numbers. This is the market volume for the Bitcoin ETF. Just keep scrolling down until you see BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, IBIT. It will be worth $4 billion on the 14th, $2 billion, $4 billion again, $2 billion, and $3 billion. The numbers are all over the place, but the point is very clear. BlackRock consistently does between $2 and $5 billion in business every day. BlackRock is the only one. I already showed you Fidelity's numbers, which are about $500 million a year on average. I asked Claude when I went over to him, because everything I tell you is based on real facts. XRP isn't some crazy idea. It makes a lot of sense and is one of the most valuable crypto investments. This is what I asked. As I said, XRP is getting about $30 million a day on average from ETFs. Bitcoin is worth between $2 and $5 billion to BlackRock alone. That is the starting point we are using. In response, Claude says that BlackRock's IBIT ETF has over $66 billion in funds under management and about a 70% market share by volume. It moves around between $500 million and $1.5 billion every day. Now look at how much XRP is worth, $30 million. It's not even close between $500 million and $30 million, even if we're being modest. $1 billion versus $30 million is not even close to being the same thing. This is what we would expect if BlackRock put out an XRP ETF. Claude makes it clear. In the past, BlackRock-backed ETFs have caused sharp increases in liquidity and price changes that go up. Why? Because BlackRock has the best delivery network and the most trust from institutions. A BlackRock XRP ETF would quickly bring in more investors, increase the number of trades each day, and lower the risk that the cryptocurrency could be hacked. And let's be honest, XRP already has the least amount of regulatory risk of all the big cryptocurrencies. The case is now over. It can't be opened again. The key line comes next. If BlackRock's XRP ETF could take even a small part of what IBIT does, which is $2 to $5 billion per day, that would be 70 to 150 times more than what the XRP ETF does now. Take that in. A 70 to 150-fold rise. That's why I say it over and over. For small buyers, $30 million sounds like a lot of money. This is eaten up by BlackRock in an hour of trade. I went one step further. I said, okay, based only on volume, can you guess how that will affect price? Claude starts out on his toes. It says that the price of XRP will go up a lot. I said, okay, but explain that. What does substantially higher really mean? So I asked it straight out. If you had to give it a number, what would you say is significantly higher? After that, it says this. At the time BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF came out, Bitcoin was worth about $46,000. It finally hit $108,000 in December, a rise of over 135%. This is where things get interesting. It says that if BlackRock's XRP ETF got just 20% of the interest that its IBIT ETF gets for Bitcoin, the total number of XRP ETFs would grow by about 13 to 30 times. Starting from a price of about $2 after that, it breaks down the stories. In a strong usage case that is cautious, you could see a 75% to 150% gain, which would put XRP somewhere between $3.50 and $5. If a small number of people use XRP, the price could rise by 150% to 300%, putting it around $5 to $8. And if demand goes through the roof, XRP moves up to $8 to $12. Also, let me make something clear. That whole split is based on just 20% of the volume of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF. Let's tell the truth now. We all know that 20% isn't the end. Let's say it gets to 50%. That number makes a lot of sense to use. At that level, the present volume of XRP ETFs would grow by 33x to 83x, which would put XRP somewhere between $8 and $15. Also, that's just from BlackRock. That doesn't include Fidelity, which is about $500 million more. Morgan Stanley is now in the ETF game, so that doesn't include them. It's all about ETFs. We've already talked about this a lot. A ETF does more than just raise demand. It completely changes how the market works. In the same way that real markets work, it lets an object trade on its own terms separate from Bitcoin. Apple doesn't do what Nvidia does. Apple may be down 10% while Nvidia is up 20%. That's how markets work. Crypto is not easy to get right now. Bitcoin is linked to everything. That's not a real market. That's fixed by ETFs. They make it possible for US dollars to go straight into assets. That's what lets them separate and work on their own. And BlackRock by itself is enough to push the price of XRP into the double digits. We still haven't talked about what Fidelity brings to the table. Morgan Stanley is still not on the list. Now take a step back. With a market cap of about $3 trillion, crypto is large. We're now at $6 trillion after a simple double. Also, yes, we will have more than $10 trillion. With XRP worth 17, the market cap is about $1 trillion. Is it true that XRP, which is thought to be the third largest cryptocurrency asset, will not be worth $1 trillion in a market worth $6 trillion? Please, yes, of course it is. What does this mean? The message is easy to understand. Now we have to wait. You have to wait. It's also a Clarity Act game. Because of the Clarity Act, ETFs can be used by anyone. ETFs let BlackRock, Fidelity, Morgan Stanley, and VanEck do a lot of business. All of them. That's when XRP really starts to move. And there's something else that nobody is seeing. It's about time for the Fed to put $55 billion into the markets. What's that cash used for? It goes out to hunt